Not sure why they all got cut, but they did. And then throttle is completely locked up. Yep, that's flowing. That's all rust. You can see that. That's horrible. Well, I've got the skid loader off the trailer, as you saw. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got it jacked up, or not jacked up, but I've got it pinned up. These pins right there are designed to hold this up, which allows me access back in here to the engine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through, we're going to look at what is wrong with the skid steer that I can see so far, and what we need to do to try to get it started. Well, as you can see, I'm sitting here editing the video you're watching right now, and I wanted to jump in and put a little context in this whole process that you're going to be watching. I've never owned a skid steer before. This is my very first one. So I'm a complete newbie. I don't know what I don't know. And I didn't take this decision lightly to drive to Southern California to pick up these machines. It was an epic effort to go get those machines. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll post a link in the description to those. But it was a really, really big effort to get those machines here. And then a huge commitment once I got them to do the rebuild. So I wasn't taking this lightly. And how could I do my due diligence? Well, one, I asked a lot of questions. Two, I got pictures. And three, I got a video. So we're going to take a look at that video right now. It'll help you understand where I thought this machine was before I even left the house to go pick it up. So let's take a look at that video, and then we'll talk about it.
This one is close to being put back together and running. Cab has been redone. Foot pedals and hydraulics have all been redone. The pins have been taken out just to get this all painted, but this was up and running. Motor work and everything was all done over at HDS. So it has a fresh motor build in it, good radiator. Everything on this machine is ready to go, but it does need a fresh battery. And the fuel pump timing worked out because it's idling too fast.
Okay, well, you saw the video, and my take on this was the cab was rebuilt, everything was done, ready to go, controls, hydraulics worked. It would idle, but it idled too fast, and just needed to have the fuel injection pump retimed. Probably going to be a little cleanup on some things, but this was going to be a pretty quick project. So I made the decision, I'm going to drive down, pick the machines up. Like I said earlier, crazy video. If you haven't seen it, watch that. So I'm coming into this thinking that I'm maybe going to spend a week working on this, and then it's ready for sale. Well, you saw me talk about the buy one, get one free on the video where I pulled it off the trailer. Well, I paid $4,500 for both of these skid steers. And the goal is to take this one, very quickly get it up and running, get it ready, and then sell it. Take the profits off of that, and then use the profits to pay for everything, including the rebuild of the other machine. So that's my buy one, get one free. So my expectation, as I'm in the video right now, is that this is going to be a very, very quick flip. But before we get into it, thank you very much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so that you'll know when the next videos come out on this project. And if you're so inclined, hit that like button. I would very much appreciate that. It tells me you're enjoying the video. And if any comments you have, please leave those as well. What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? What do you like, dislike? All that kind of fun stuff. So let me know what you think. But for now, let's jump back into the video of me going through the machine and how close we are to getting this thing up and running. So here we go. As I kind of walk through and look at this just high level, this is a hydraulic tank. and it is missing the cap. So I'm gonna have to drain the tank, get that cleaned out, make sure that there's no water in it. Also, this looks really bad, so we're gonna change the oil on it. The battery is okay, but it's probably gonna, it may need a different battery in it. Also, we have various and sundry cut wire. Well, those wires aren't cut, but these others are. And yeah, I'm not sure why they all got cut, but they did. The other thing I need to check is the turbocharger free spinning. So I don't know if that's free spinning or not. When I come inside the cab, I have more, hold on, let me show you this, more cut wires. Now, I don't even know if this actually goes to this skid steer or not, don't know. So that's one of the things I'm gonna have to find out. And then throttle is completely locked up, so got to figure that out. And then underneath here, you're going to see that it's missing one of the sensors, that front sensor there, thus the wiring. And then when I come down here, more cut wiring. This is actually the wiring harness. This comes from the main wiring harness into the seat harness. Also, more cut wires down here. Lots of stuff that needs to be cleaned out. Just kind of overall, this just needs a lot of attention to get it ready to start. And then seat belts. There's no seat belt on this side, and there is one on that side. So there's no way that the ignition will work on this thing. Let's crawl inside. Now, I do have the battery hooked up to this thing. So I should get, this should all light up here, and it's completely dead. So that's kind of where I am right now. And I've actually ordered some parts. So I have some parts that are ready to go in. And what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to replace the sensors. I'm going to put the seat belt in, and I'm going to replace this bottom wiring harness. So there's a little bit of work just to kind of get it to the point where I can see if I can start it. So let's get this these switches taken care of, and the wiring harness there, because as soon as we kind of figure out all of that, basically what happens is when both switches are triggered and the seatbelt is fastened and all the other things that need to happen are happening, then I will get power to the dashboard. So the goal for now, get this done, get power to the dashboard. So let's jump in and get started on this. Pulling out the seat and changing the sensors was pretty straightforward, so we're just going to speed through this real quick. That front sensor, I did end up putting some padding underneath it because I didn't think it was going to make any contact, and then also ended up loosening up the rails on the seat adjustment and put a new seat belt in it. So everything went really well here. And this was the first step in trying to get power to the dashboard so that we can send power to the fuel solenoid and get this thing started. Let's go inside, see if this thing will run. All right, there we go. Seatbelt's on. We're going to go to service. I think I need to put a little juice to the battery. Let's go do that. All right, I picked up a new battery, got that hooked up, tried to start it, still doesn't run. So I pulled this panel off. I don't know. Hold on, let me see. So I pulled the ignition panel off here, and that white wire is taped up, and that is supposedly the start wire. So I'm going to do a little testing, pull this panel down as well. This was the fuse box. I'll do a service start on this, but I'm still not getting anything here to the dashboard. So I'm going to swap out this ignition switch and then start testing wires. So yeah, the very first thing is just pop out the ignition switch. I just want to, I mean, the key is all rusty and nasty. So I don't think it hurts anything to just go ahead and replace this switch real quick. Now, Eli had said that he got this thing started, but I never asked him how he got it started. I've got a pretty strong suspicion that that what he did was he jumped it. I mean, that would make sense. You know what, before I slide this up there, I'm not sure if I've got any power in here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. All right, there's power to that. That's good news. Whoa. All right, I'm going to go undo the battery. I just actually had it try to turn over, which is spectacular. Man, how fantastic would it be if it was that easy? And all it needed was just that switch changed out and battery wire. That would be amazing. Battery is disconnected. Now, let's get the rest of this wired up. Okay, well, I've got everything hooked up in here. This is on service. And let's give her one turn. Ho, 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 ho. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. That was it. They disconnected the starter. Okay. That is absolutely spectacular. I need to do an oil change. I need to make sure that the throttle is working the way I want it to right now. If you, let me do this. If you look at this, throttle's locked, doesn't work. So let's do an oil change. Make sure I've got fresh oil in it, so if it starts, at least I know I'm not going to blow the engine up. And disconnect the throttle on the back so that I can manually do that. And I don't know if I can get this throttle working or not, but if I could, that'd be amazing. So yeah, sorry, I'm rambling. I'm excited about this. So I'm going to get oil changed. I'm going to disconnect the throttle. I'm going to drain the diesel and put fresh diesel in it as well, so that if I can get it started, we've at least got a shot at it running somewhat well. And that oil does look like maybe it's been changed fairly recently. I mean, it doesn't look too bad. Okay, well, that went well. Let's get the oil filter out and get her filled back up. I'm gonna guess this oil filter's on there like I can't get it off. Oh, come on. See if this wicks will go on. Yes, it will. And that went much better than I thought it would, so let's get some oil in this thing. Finish this up. All right, I'm going to check the coolant levels. Let's get the throttle off of this. And let's see if we can get started. Well, I got the throttle cable pulled out. It was completely rusted, and so I'm trying to break it free now. So let's do a little precision work here. There we go. Starting to get some of that junk and crud coming out of there. Well, it's a push and pull. This is from the handle side here. And it's showing a little bit of rust. But it is opening up some. Yeah. Was by no means smooth. But at least it's working now. Okay, well, I think I've done everything I can to get ready to attempt to start this machine. I'm going to start it in service mode, or I'm going to attempt to start it in service mode. I believe the diesel fuel is fairly new in it. It looks okay. I changed the oil. I got the throttle off so I can manipulate the throttle. And I have also pulled off the intake for the turbo, singular turbo, so that if it's a runaway, I can just put my hand over it and kill the engine. So I guess all that's left now is to turn the key and see what happens. So here we go. Let's get this thing started. Pump that. I mean, it's very possible that this thing is not primed. So I'm going to give it a little shot of ether, a little shot of starter fluid. See if that'll get her to fire. What I'm doing here is just trying to make sure I've got all of the air out of the lines and have done everything I possibly can to try to get this thing to fire before I dive too far into taking things apart. Unfortunately, nothing here worked. I got it to at least have ignition. I don't think I've got anything here in the pump. So I need to take a look at that. There's a couple of things I need to try to figure out, but at least it turned over. What I really need to do is crack the injectors and try to bleed them out. So in fact, let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, see what happens. No ether this time. Dry as a bone. I'm going to go ahead and pull this fuel filter off and change this filter here, drain this out. Just try to get some good fuel in here. Okay. Not a lot in there. Well, the fuel does not smell very good. So I'm going to put a new fuel filter on this. I'm going to clean this bowl out. And I may try to siphon this tank as well. So let's keep going on this. I've got another fuel filter here, and so I can change it. I definitely don't like the fuel that I've got in this. It smells real lacquery. I don't know what. I don't have any idea what kind of diesel fuel is in it, but I don't like it. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes to try to get some of this diesel fuel out of the tank and clean everything up really good, and then hopefully I can get the injectors, everything pumped back up, primed, ready to go, and get this thing started tonight. So I'm going to turn off the camera and kind of figure out how to get this done. I'll be back. Okay, I've made some progress so far. I have the I've got power back to the starting solenoid. The engine will turn over, but I've got no fuel. I did switch out the fuel filters. Everything that I see out there is on the emission engine. This is a 1998, I believe it's Perkins engine, 3-cylinder. Almost everything is the emissionized engine. And it doesn't have the dual fuel filters. It has a fuel pump that sits down here that goes over to the pressure pump. This has a gear in here, and this is a manual feed. So that's just something that it's just hard to find any information on the non-emission engine on this thing, but it is the dual filter. It is manual feed from the tank, and that took me a while to figure out. I got it to turn over with some starting fluid, but it wouldn't stay running. And I don't know if it'll run or not without the starting fluid, because the pump may be timed wrong, but I want to try to get it started. So I wasn't getting fuel up to the injectors here. So I replaced the filters, went through all of that, and it wasn't working. Now, I didn't take this thing apart. I didn't do the work on it. So I've never seen this thing when it was in a running state, but I've been struggling with this. And what I figured out finally, if you look down here, you'll see that spot for the wire. It dawned on me there's a fuel solenoid in there, and that thing's not hooked up. So, did a little research, and this, show you here, this line right here, this line is blue and orange, and that, when you touch it down to that solenoid, triggers the solenoid, which will allow fuel to flow, and that should solve the problem. So I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to get an end on this. We're going to get this plugged in, try it one more time, and I'm hoping that today this thing runs. So let's see. All right, we'll go ahead and get this plugged in. And you can't imagine that you'll be able to hear this, but this will actually click when it gets plugged in. And I don't think this goes anywhere, this one. I don't think that goes anywhere. There's heaters and stuff like that on these, on some models and not other models. And so, all right. I just don't think that one gets used anywhere. Like this one here, this is actually for the separate lift pump. And we don't have one of those. All right, so now what I'm gonna do, and I honestly don't know how well you're gonna be able to see this, but the injectors here, I'm gonna pop those open And then we're gonna, actually this one's open already. And then when we have fuel running, we'll have fuel running out of those. I got a little fuel dribbling before, but not enough that it's gonna matter. It should be a lot. I mean, it should be a big burst of diesel fuel that's coming out of these things. So let's see what we've got. All right, let's go ahead and give this thing a start. Yeah. All right, you see that middle cylinder starting to leak. That middle cylinder has got fuel to it. So now we'll tighten that up. And let's see when we get the other two. All right, now this is what's got me a little bit stumped, is I really don't have any fuel come out of this this front injector. So I'm not sure what's going on there. There's nothing happening. And this thing now should be energized. I don't understand. I'm gonna give this a little more throttle. I'm gonna push the throttle up on that to try to get more fuel through it. Okay, there we go. All right, that got us a little bit of fuel. May not want to run without the throttle cable in it, which I've got that fixed, and if I have to put it in, I will. But now is the moment of truth. Got fueled all three injectors, which is good. There's fuel in the tank, and at this point in time, it just see if it'll start. I know this starting fluid's bad form, but I want to try to get it just primed a little bit, and I can shoot it from down in here. Okay, well, we got a little life out of it. It won't stay running. I'm gonna do a little work, try to get the throttle in this thing, and I'll be back in a few minutes. And let's see if we can't actually get it to run without the starter fluid. So I got the throttle hooked up, and so I got a little more control over fuel. And I'm gonna try this one more time. If not, I'm gonna have to start pulling stuff apart, possibly looking at having this fuel injection pump sent out and getting it rebuilt. So let's see what we can come up with here. Okay, well, that's not working. So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and try to figure out what's going on here, see if I'm getting fuel up. I'm gonna kind of run back and look at where this wiring goes here, and yeah, just kind of start doing a little troubleshooting. If I find anything significant, I'll come back on. Otherwise, I'm just gonna, this is just that long process of try something, see if it works. If it doesn't work, try something different. And like I say, I may end up just having to take this fuel injection pump off and have it sent in and having it rebuilt. that just may end up being the, the solution to this. So I'll be back. Well, I've been struggling to get fuel up to the injectors, and the wiring wasn't quite right. You saw that. You saw me add the wiring. But this is the solenoid that I just wired up. And this is supposed to move in and out. And when it moves, then it actually allows the flow of diesel fuel up into the injectors. And I have a feeling this thing's bad, so let's test it. See how it's inconsistent. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I put it in, and it's kind of sort of working and kind of sort of not. So it's not really working very well. I mean, this thing is all over the board. I mean, it's moving in and out, but pretty erratic. Now this one is supposed to replace it, and that moves just a little bit. So I'm not sure if this will solve the problem or not. Well, let's give it a try, and if that doesn't, we'll go back to this one. I mean, this thing is literally, it moves around and it's kind of all over the board. So I just don't really trust it to work consistently. Yeah, I think this one may just be blown out. I don't know. So let's put this one in. I'll stop mumbling. Let's put this one in, and let's see if we can start this engine. Well, I've got the new solenoid in down here. Got the injectors cracked open. I don't know if you can see much here, but the injectors are right there. And if this works, they should get wet. Or it should get wet there, I should say. Try pumping this up. All right, let's see what we've got. I was really hoping that was going to give us something, but it's not. So I have to do a little more research. I have a feeling this is going to end up being a pump rebuild, injection pump rebuild. Man, I don't want to do that. Well, I'm not going to do it, but I don't want to have it done. It's not cheap. But let me do a little research. I'll come back. I'll let you know what I'm going to do. But there's no fuel, so I'm assuming it. I just need to do an injector pump rebuild. So I'll be back. So I've been doing some troubleshooting on the fuel because we're not getting diesel up to the injectors. So I'm going to start pulling some of the lines off from the dual bowl system, make sure there's no clogs in here, clogs down there, that everything's opened up as much as I can without pulling the injector pump apart, because once I start doing that, then I kind of feel like I need to just pull it off and send it out and have it rebuilt. But for now, let's go ahead and pull some things out, clean some stuff up, and see if we can't find some blockages or something that's keeping the fuel from flowing on this. So let's jump in. So now there's actually two different, I don't know if you can see it down here or not. This is a fuel line coming in here. I don't know if this is a return line, although there is a pressure valve that sets up in here, up in this little ball valve. So it would have to go this way and down. But this is the main fuel line here. So I'm not really sure what line does what here, but we're gonna work on both of them. So I've checked this already, but I'm gonna take it off again. Yeah, I have no idea how long this sat. I mean, it could have been 20 years. It could have been a year. I don't know. So I just kind of have to make some assumptions here that All of this needs to be checked. This has got a little roll pin in it here. I don't know if you can see that or not. And a ball valve. And this is spring loaded, pushing it down this way. So the fuel, as this pressurizes, would come up, would push its way past this ball valve, and then come back, go back down into here. But I got to be honest with you, I'm not real sure what that's for. So I can tell you that this is open, because I looked at this the other day and made sure it was blown open, but let's do it one more time. All right, that's open. I'm going to now come down in here and I'm going to take this line off, which comes up to the back side of this fuel filter here. And then this goes all the way down and comes out here. So actually, let's do this one first. I may end up pulling this off here just so that I can get into everything. Let's do that. I'll probably have to reprime this whole system again, but I think it'll be worthwhile to just take everything apart, kind of start over. Like I say, I have all new seals for this coming as well. Okay, that'll let me get to everything. Okay. Goes on like that. Okay, that was clogged. A bunch of gunk and garbage down in here. Okay, that I didn't expect. This was almost completely clogged. So I guess it could be that all these lines are almost clogged in it, and it's probably, if it's been long enough the lines are clogged, then that fuel injection pump's probably clogged as well. But let's just keep running on this and, you know, see if we can't get everything unclogged, get it running again. I may try to get to these 4 bolts down in here and get those off, because it sure kind of seems to me like we've got some issues with having nasty old fuel in here. And this has got another one of those check valves in it. That is actually moving. I'm gonna have to clean these lines out really good. I mean, it looks like there's some rust inside of them. Okay, that's wide open. That's good. Okay, that's open. Let's take this thing inside and take it apart. Just down so that you can see. Let's see what this diaphragm looks like. This may very well be ruining this. Oh, it may end up tearing this rubber diaphragm. There we go. And that's got a hole in it. And that's not where I punctured through. So that's a problem. Okay, I'm going to go order another one of these pumps because, like I say, this had a puncture, and it's not where I opened it up. So, well, I have put the fuel system back together here. You'll see that everything is back the way it's supposed to be. I had a blockage in this line, in this line, and then in this line back here was a bad one. So I wasn't getting any fuel, right, or not much fuel down to the fuel pump. But I'm still not getting any fuel from here up into the injectors. So today's project is to try to figure out, you know, what I need to do to get fuel all the way up in to these injectors. So first thing I'm going to do is just pull these off, and I'm just going to see if I've got any fuel coming up, which I may now. It just may not have been primed. And we're not getting any fuel here. What I want to do is just start back down in here, and I'm gonna loosen this up, and I'm gonna loosen this up probably one at a time, and see if I can crack this and get any fuel flow from up here, because this is rock solid. It was never solid before, and it's solid now. So that tells me I'm going to have pressure in through here, this whole system. And what this does is this pulls fuel from this side around here through the back and in through that way. And I think that that's right. Actually, this is pulling fuel this way. Sorry, it goes in here, comes through, out here, up, in through here, pressurizes this, comes up through this little ball valve here, and also it comes through this here down below, so it comes here and here. Now there's check valves in those, and I'm not sure if the new ones have check valves or not, but let's see if we can at least create some pressure in through there. So let's crack the lines and see what I get. Okay, so we're getting fuel flow there. Let's crack this open. And once again, you know, that is flowing really well. So that's really flowing. But if I get too far into this and I just can't get it running the way I want, then I'm probably going to end up having to pull this injector pump and send it in. But I'd really like to know that I have done everything I can to get fuel flowing. So I think the next thing is to pop one of these, because I don't think I've got fuel flowing through this. I don't think I've got fuel flowing through that right there. And if I don't, then that's definitely a problem. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this banjo off here. I'm going to do that first and see if I can get any fuel flow there. Yeah, this pressure comes through the pump, pushes through the end of this, opens up this ball cock here, and then we get fuel. But I don't seem to be getting any fuel out of this, so let's turn it over and see what happens. You guys keep an eye on this for me. We should have fuel running out of this. Okay, there was just a little bit of a spit. That should be pumping fuel. So there's something in here that is stopping us from getting our fuel out. So let's pull this solenoid and see what I can come up with. There we go. And then, I don't know if you can see this, but if I touch that, it goes in. So it releases itself, or not releases, but moves in. So as I look at this, my thought is that this solenoid isn't releasing up here, that something is going on. And I'm gonna have to do a little research here and try to see if I can free that up. If there's anything I can do with this without pulling the whole thing off, because that's a fairly big project. So I'm going to work on that for a minute. There's just no way to film it. It's just a super small hole. It's basically a hole that size that I've got to get up in there and try to work that around. So let me work on that. I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, so I pulled this solenoid out and I thought, well, do I have fuel flowing down through there? And the answer is yes. I actually have really, really good fuel flow. So you can see that there's no restrictions there. So that tells me that if I'm not getting any fuel flow into the injectors, that either it's not turning over, there's something going on inside of that fuel injection pump. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this solenoid back on without the guts in it, which means that it will be open all the time. So fuel will flow. Problem is, I'm not going to be able to turn it off unless I just starve it of air later on. So this is a risk to do it this way, but I think I can get it shut off if I were to get it started. But I'm not going to try to start it. I'm just trying to get fuel flowing up into the injectors to see if I can make that happen. So let's get this in and see if we can't get any fuel flowing to the injector port right there. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I was getting some fuel to come out of there. I'm getting fuel out of the top here too. Let's go ahead and put this banjo bolt back on and see what I can make happen here. I think this is actually pretty good progress here. For some reason, this solenoid may not be opening up. We'll test again. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, but I believe we're going to be getting fuel in all four. So hopefully, let's see. Or I said all four, all three cylinders. That's a huge win. I'm getting fuel in all three cylinders. That's the first time we've had that kind of fuel flow. So it seems like that solenoid, there's something going on there. All right, so I'm going to give it a try now. And hopefully I've got a way that I can shut it off, because I can't shut the fuel off on this thing. So yeah, this could be a little sketchy, but I'm gonna try to get it started here. You know what, I'm not gonna start this without that solenoid together, but what I am gonna do, or my theory is, that I'm not getting consistent power into that solenoid. So I'm turning it on, trying to start it, and it's not fully depressing the solenoid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that solenoid back out. I'm going to rebuild it, and then I'm going to run a separate power source to it and make sure that I'm getting a consistent 12 volts to that thing the whole time test that, see if I can get fuel flowing the way I want it to. If for some reason I can't, then I'll go back and I'll run it the way it is now. But this thing could end up being a runaway engine pretty easily if I don't have a way to shut the fuel off. So, I mean, I can cover up the air intake, but it just, you know, I'd rather know that I can shut it off. So, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to get that solenoid swapped out, and then we're going to test the feel on this thing one more time. All right, I've got that solenoid, the new one in. Let's check for fuel pressure now. Hopefully this time we've got the kinks worked out, and we'll get this running the way it's supposed to. Okay, there we go. Let's see what we end up with. We had fuel when I didn't have the plunger in the solenoid. So let me pump this thing up one more time. That's pumped up with the solenoid on. We should be getting fuel. So there's no fuel here. So something's not happening the way we want it to. It could be the fact that I'm not getting any power down in here. So I'm gonna go grab some additional wiring so that I can go over the top and get 12 volts power down into the, what do I want to say, down into the solenoid, so I can make sure I'm getting that power down there. I'm gonna manually put 12 volts to that. That should be 12 volts. Let me get my tester out here. Check for voltage. That does have voltage to it. So now that solenoid does have 12 volts to it. So this will let me see for some reason if that solenoid is not getting power once I try to start it. I think that's going to be mystery solved because we got really good fuel on this middle cylinder, actually. I think on all three of them. So I think what's happening is my voltage is cutting out for my switch here. So I'm going to have to track that down. But for now, I can at least try to start this. So let me get everything, get these locked back down, and we're going to try starting it one more time here. Ready to try starting again. I've got two ways to shut it off. One is to pull this wire here down below. The other is to hit the air. Just put my hand over the air intake. But hey, this could be it. Cross our fingers. I'm going to throttle it down a little bit. That is a win. Yes. Man, that feels good. That feels really good to have this thing running. All right, let's see what happened here. Now, there may have been some air in here that I've got to fix. But let's try it one more time. Obviously, I've got a couple of things to work out here, but this is a positive. It ran, it got fuel, it actually throttled up and down, and I'm really, really happy with that. So let me do a little investigating, figure out what's going on here. It's almost like something has clogged up again, but yeah. This is a win. This is a huge win. So just keep trying to figure out what's going on with it. I don't know if you can see the voltage meter or not, but I'm gonna get on that center post. There's 12.7 in there. So what I'm thinking is that there's something down in that solenoid or down in that area that is locking up, and I'm not sure how to fix that. So I'm going to mess around with this a little bit. You really won't be able to see anything, so I don't think I'm going to film it. But I'm going to pop that solenoid off one more time, and I may actually try to start it without the plunger in it. And if I can start it without the plunger in it, I can shut it off with, just starving it of air. But yeah, I'm going to give that a try. I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, well, I've got the solenoid, the one with the insides taken out. So now the only way I'm going to be able to shut it off is just shut the air off on it. All right, let's see if we've got any fuel now. I think we will. I think it's something going on in that solenoid. Yeah, immediately I have fuel coming up there. Let me pump this up. That's interesting. When I'm pumping that, there's fuel coming out. So something at this point in time tells me that the end here, something's locked up. There's fuel coming out of that when I pump it, so there's fuel coming into that section, but for some reason, where that solenoid locks it up or pushes it, let me rephrase this. When there's no power to the solenoid, the plunger is up. When you put power to it, the plunger comes down. And so my estimation is whatever's in the back end there, that that plunger is not dropping down. So I'm going to see if I can't get that to drop down and then run it with this gutted solenoid and see if I can get it to run. If it runs, then I'm going to carefully take a back plate off of this, maybe take the starter off of it, and try to get into the back of that injector pump to see what's causing that actuator to stay up and stay closed. So let me work on this for a couple minutes. You're really not going to be able to see anything here, and I'll come back in a minute. I messed around with the plunger on the end of the fuel injection pump and got a little bit of movement out of it. So this is the attempt of starting it after I get that done. Okay, something's going on in here because that shouldn't have shut itself down. So I think I might have to pull this apart. All right, I'm back on the skid steer today. Actually been a couple of days since I've been able to work on it with weather and my regular job and stuff. But what I'm looking at today is I got this to run, as you saw, for a couple of minutes, and then I didn't, nothing. I've checked all the fuel lines in the dual bulb that was over here, and the lines down through here, and this other line had some gunk in them. I'm 99% sure that there's a filter right in there. So I'm gonna reach in, I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna pull that filter, and it may be that that filter is clogged. If that filter is not clogged and it's open, then what I have is down here in this solenoid, that down there in that solenoid, that shutoff switch, for some reason is not actuating up and down, and that'll be a little more detailed. But for now, I'm going to try taking off this, taking off the that fuel filter, or that area where the fuel filter is, and seeing what that looks like. So let's dive into that. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm gonna spin this off. And this line had some gunk in it, so I really would not be surprised if that filter is all clogged up. In fact, I think I'll be more surprised if it's not clogged up. All right. Ooh, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I don't know if you can see through there, but that is full of gunk. Oh yeah. That right there came out of the inside of this. So, and that's all rust. So, yeah. You can see that. That's horrible. So I'm going to assume that this is all rusted out here. Let me go grab some stuff to pull that up. Let me see what I can come up with here. Man, that thing was so dirty, and it's still dirty on the inside. I'm going to have to clean it out a bunch more. But for now, let's just get this thing apart. Some people may be asking, well, why didn't you just do this to begin with? Well, everything is kind of an evolution of moving through a process. And this is really, once again, this is really dirty. I don't know if you can see that, but that's just filthy. So, more parts. Now, there is, I believe, I've got the filters, the next thing to come out. And I'm going to have to figure out how to get a hold of this and pull it up without busting it. Ah, there we go. That's the filter. And the filter's not horrible. It's got a bunch of stuff down there, but it's not absolutely horrible. So what I'm thinking is I'll go clear this out. And I mean, this just had this massive gunky thing in it that was pretty much blocking it off. So yeah, I believe this has got to be cleaned. I may have to pull this end off. You know, if I do, that's fine. And actually, let me see what else is in there. See if I can get anything else out of there. Yep. That's a plunger, which, based on my research, I knew that there was a plunger there. Look at that, that seal's busted off. That seal's broken right there. There's another spring down in there. I don't think I need to take anything else apart here. I think I just need to clean this up. Get this cleaned up and make sure these holes are free. Yeah, I can't get in with that. All right, let's get this in the shop, do a little cleanup, bring it back out, see if this helps. I got all the parts cleaned up in the shop, brought them back out, started putting everything back together, and there was a spring inside that end plate on the fuel injection pump that did not come out originally. So I've got to go dig that thing out, and ultimately ends up I had to pull the end plate off the fuel injection pump, and that's what you're seeing right now. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that spring fell over on its side. There's a bunch of dirt and gunk down in here. Yeah, that spring fell over, so this needed to come off. And let's take a look at the fins. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but those fins right there, when those turn, that's what causes the fuel to pump in the different, up to the different injectors. So let's get this thing inside, get it back together, come back out, put it on, see what happens. Now you can see that's really dirty in there. I'm going to pull that plate out. The spring is actually, yep, there we go. There's a spring, a plunger, spring plunger. So this goes on the bottom, and that with the solid base. And then that goes up inside this. So, but first, let's get this cleaned off. There's some gunk and stuff down in there. Okay, I've got everything cleaned up, ready to go back on. So let's put the pump back together, or put this end back together. That plate slides on there like that. That is a completed assembly. Okay, well, everything's cleaned up. Time to put it back together and see if it runs. As you can see, I've got everything hooked up here. All the lines are on. I did find some fuel line. Now, all that's left to do is go ahead, turn this thing over, see if we're getting fuel up to the injectors. So, let's give this thing a run. See what I got here. I think that's on the injectors. Now, I'm running the dummy solenoid, so I really don't want this thing starting. So you can see the injectors are all loose, or all the lines to the injectors are loose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try this with the dummy injector in it, make sure I've got fuel. As soon as I know I have fuel, then I'm going to put a real, or not the dummy injector, but the solenoid, then I'll put a real solenoid in it. Okay, here we go. I checked lines, I pumped, I did everything I possibly could, but there was no fuel. So this was extremely disappointing. Okay, not sure what's going on, but yeah, no fuel. I think even less fuel than we had before. I have a feeling that where that solenoid goes, that is locked up. I'm going to try a couple more things, which I'm not even going to film because you won't be able to see it on camera. But I'm going to try a couple of things, and then I'm going to probably just have to take the pump off and send it in if I can't get this going, but I'm not done yet. I'll be back in a few minutes. I tried everything I could think of, and I have not been able to get the injector pump to work the way it needs to make the engine run. Got it running very briefly, and then it wouldn't run anymore. So that tells me probably some debris or something got down in there, caused some issues. I'm not going to be able to fix that. And to pull it apart, you then need to test it, get it set up, make sure it's metering properly. And I just don't have the expertise or the equipment to do that. But Area Diesel Service does. So they're going to rebuild this pump for me, and they're going to do it on their channel. So head over there, and you'll be able to see what's wrong with that pump. And then they're going to get it back to me. We'll get this installed, get the engine running, get this project finished up. So let's jump in here. Let's pull this injector pump. Let's get it boxed up and get it shipped out. Here we go. There's a lot that has to happen to get these things apart. So dual fuel bowl have to come off. I'm going to have to take the radiator off. Oh, making a mess. Well, radiator in there comes off. The hydraulic oil cooler comes off. Starter comes off. This comes off. And where this gets kind of crazy is this is all one piece all the way down in through here. And I don't know if I can mark this timing cover, pull the bolts, pull the gear off. You'll see that's in a few minutes. Pull that gear off and then get the pump out without, like I say, without pulling that whole front cover off. It's a big enough job the way it is, but if I have to pull that front cover, it gets much bigger, and I'm exposing the engine to the elements while I get this thing fixed. So hopefully I can get the injector pump off without pulling that front timing cover. So let's dive in, get started, and take this thing apart so I can get it sent out and get it fixed. Okay, I've got the starter out, so there's actually a lot of room in here now. Next thing is to come around here and take the radiator off, take the oil cooler off, or the hydraulic fluid cooler off, drain that, and then get ourselves down in here, because what we're trying to get to is that right there. So all of this work is to take this cover off, make sure the timing's right, and then be able to pull the pump backwards, which is why all of this had to come off. So let me get set up. We'll get the radiator off, we'll get the cooler off. And I believe, from what I'm seeing, there's only one bowl holding this on. So it's just this middle one here. And you can actually take this and run it out, which I think I'm gonna do. There we go. Oh, that's special. There we go. Now I can get to the fittings, get these off. one radiator off. There we go. Ooh, white, foamy hydraulic fluid. I don't think it's supposed to look like that. Check this out. White and foamy. Yeah, that tank's got to be cleaned out. That cap wasn't on it, so I figured that I was going to need to flush out the hydraulic system, and I do. So, guess it's probably a good thing that I took this apart. It needed it. Bingo, right there. The challenge is this wheel, or this gear, is larger than the opening. So the question is, can I pull these off? And then can I get to the bolts that hold the injection pump on? These bolts here, which I think I can. So that's great news. I should be able to do this without pulling this front cover off, I believe. So let me get everything marked, and we'll start pulling this pump off. So I need to mark this off somehow. So the engine's not going to be moved. And then see where it says BR right there. I think that's going to be one of my marks. And then there's a 0, 1 up there. So maybe what I'm thinking is I might take this pump and actually turn it. And if I turn this and I get, you know, this, figure out where I want to time this, and I think where I'm going to do it is I'm going to time this so that this BR or the 1 0, although that 1 0, tell you what, that 1 0 is pretty much straight up. I think I'm going to go with this. I'm going to take a minute, figure out how I'm going to mark this. I'll bring you back. All right, so I've got this marked. I've got a mark here where the 1 0 is on the top. The BR is down here, and then a little arrow showing the up. So now I'm going to try to pop. I'm going to have to pull this, and I have to get a puller, but I've got to get these bolts off, and then I'm going to have to pull this out and then take the injection pump off from the other side. You can see the ends of the bolt holes there. So it's going to be a little bit involved, but not horrible. So let's go ahead and get this thing pulled off. Oh, look at that. It just falls right off. All right, so that's loose. That's a good thing. Let's get on the other side here and try to pull these bolts. This was a long process and a lot of troubleshooting to get to the point where I'm pulling the pump. Overall, the work wasn't really hard. It was just really time consuming to go through all of the steps to know that pulling this pump was actually the right solution. So I'm glad I went through the steps. I'm glad I've got it off, and now it's time to get it off to area diesel. That really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, getting that injection pump out of there. There's a little bit to it. Take the starter out as you saw, and then take all the front off, but wasn't too bad overall. Gives me access, easy to get into. I know that some folks I've seen, they'll take this whole front off, but I didn't need to do that. All I needed to do was to just pull that front cover off and get it done. So I'm sending this off to area diesel, And I'm going to have them rebuild it. They're going to put that video up on their channel. So look for the Scratch Fab LX885 pump rebuild on their channel. And when I get this back, we'll throw it in. We'll get this thing up and running and get this project finished up. For now, don't be afraid to go out, get your hands dirty, try something new. And if you're so inclined, give this video a like and subscribe if you would. It does help out, and you'll know when the next video comes along. But until then, we will see you on the next video. Bye now.